Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. Really do appreciate it. We're jumping right in tonight because we got some big news yesterday. No real surprises here. It may have surprised some fans, but none that really would have caught anybody up to date off guard. But the Braves did make some decisions yesterday. One that I thought obviously topped all the rest of them was the Braves did exercise Charlie Morton's $20 million extension. I think this is a solid move. You know, the question with Charlie Morton was, will he come back for one more season? Will he continue his career? He's coming up on 40 years old. Does he have enough to continue? I think he showed in 2023 that he does. I think he was one of the more overlooked components of this team. But when you consider all of what the Braves went through with their pitching staff, when you look at, the fact that they lost Max Fried, the fact that they lost Kyle Wright for, the whole year, I think it says a lot about Charlie Morton and Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder and whoever else carried the load in the starting rotation that they were able to fill that role. And Charlie Morton, being the veteran that he is, we certainly know he was a big part of it. He had a great season this year. If he can have something of the sort again next year, I think this will pay off. I don't think $20 million is outrageous, especially considering he is at the end of his road. He is, sticking around for one more year. This will likely be, I hate to say this, but this will likely be or could potentially be his final contract. I don't think $20 million is ridiculous. I didn't think it was ridiculous when the Braves made the offer back a few years ago. I thought they would take this option if he was successful. And look, there was a lot of debate on the channel about this and on the Twitterverse and everything else. There was a lot of debate. The Braves made it kind of public knowledge for, that's unusual. But there was a lot of debate about whether or not the Braves were going to take this option within the front office. So I think that kind of goes to show you where they were with making this decision. But honestly, I'm glad they did, because when you look at the landscape of the Braves starting pitching next year, if you don't have Charlie Morton, you really shoot yourself in the foot, because you also don't have Kyle Wright. You are unsure about Michael Soroka still. Max Fried, you have, if he could stay healthy, which I believe next year he can. Spencer Strider, you have. I think Charlie Morton is that number 3 that you're going to need, especially if you make it to the postseason next year, which I believe the Braves will. But no, I think Charlie Morton is here to stay for a reason. I think he's going to finish his career in a Braves uniform, and I think, I really like the $20 million extension. Again, I don't think it's ridiculous, especially with the money they're saving. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But no, I thought Charlie Morton re-signing or getting the option with the Braves was a very good thing. And, I think AA has got some moves up his sleeve, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to have Charlie Morton back in a Braves uniform. That said, in the same announcement, we did get the news that the Braves would decline options for Kirby Yates, Collin Mchugh, and Eddie Rosario, the NLCS MVP in 2021. Here's what I would say. I wasn't really surprised with any of these moves. The one that I was more surprised with over any of them was probably Kirby Yates. And I know some of you are going to be saying, Tyler, you weren't surprised on Eddie Rosario. No, I really wasn't. I thought Eddie Rosario had a good year, especially considering what he was in 2022 versus what he was in 2023. I just think the Braves can easily find a bat that would perform better in this lineup, especially considering where, Rosario was platooning. He wasn't, I just don't think he was quite up to par with the rest of the lineup. That said, I wish Rosario the best. I've met him. I don't think we'll ever forget what he did in 2023 or 2021 rather, in the NLCS, as well as, the postseason at large. I thought Rosario back then, couldn't be touched. He was the one guy after 2021 when we had Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, and Eddie Rosario on the chopping block. If I wanted to keep one, it was Eddie Rosario. And it was in large part due to what he did in the postseason, what he was able to do, the numbers he put up. And I also thought he would be an average player. I thought that, he would have, a good batting average. I thought he'd have good on base. I don't know that that's amounted to what I expected over the 2-year period. 2023 was much closer to that. 2022 did not have it. And I know he had eye trouble. I'm not saying that it's completely due to him, or anything like that. I just think the Braves, this is a business decision. And I think that ultimately that's what this is going to come down to, is business. I failed to mention the one other guy that did not get re-signed, did not get an option picked up. That was Brad Hand. Not surprised there at all. That was a little bit before we got this announcement. But when it comes to the pitchers, I really wasn't overly surprised. Again, more so surprised with Kirby Yates, because if you look at the numbers, he really didn't have that bad of a year. And I know some of you are going to shrug that off, but I'm going to prove it to you. If you just look at the numbers, if you're a guy that doesn't watch the games, if you're a guy that, doesn't, tune in and watch every game, and you just look at Kirby Yates' numbers, he's got a 3.28 ERA, he's got 5 saves, 60 innings pitched with 80 strikeouts. His strikeout per 9 is solid, 11.9. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it would be a problem. You'd think the Braves would pick up his option. With Kirby Yates, I think it's more complicated than that, because when you dive into him for a second, because the Braves signed him after he, had his years with the Padres where he was excellent, and he was an experiment. And we kept hearing through 2021, 2022, it's all about 2023. He's an experiment for 2023. And I don't think he did enough to really convince the Braves that he was going to go any further than what he did this year. I don't mean that as a slight. I just think the Braves are going to revamp their bullpen. And I think they really need lefties. And I think, Kirby Yates just wasn't in the fold. And he didn't really seem in the fold to me throughout the entire season. It always seemed like they kind of went to him either when we were down by a couple of runs or up by a few runs. It never felt like he was a guy that we could put out there and trust, like a Raisel Iglesias, for example. And you hoped in the beginning of 2023 that he was going to be a guy that, was the Tyler Matzik of 2023, a guy that just came out of the pen in the 8th inning and shut it down. And to be honest with you, I don't think we saw that out of anybody this year. I don't think we saw it out of A.J. Minter. I don't think we saw it out of Brad Hand, who we got at the deadline. We certainly didn't see it from Collin Mchugh. We just didn't see a dominating bullpen, especially since we're so accustomed to that. We're very accustomed to seeing the Braves in recent years have a dominating bullpen. And you can blame some of that on, not having Tyler Matzik. He's, of course, was out with Tommy John. I think that's a factor. But they didn't have, a lot of electricity coming out of the pen. Raisel was good, but, it just didn't have the dominating feel, right? And if you'll remember back to 2021, and these guys, I'm not saying these are the guys to fix it, but when you think back to 2021, at the tail end of that season, you had Luke Jackson, who was solid. You had Matzik, who was dominating. You had Will Smith, who didn't allow a run in the postseason at all as your closer. You just had guys that it felt like could shut it down. This year, it did not feel that way throughout the entire season. And it was always what I thought would be the Achilles heel. I would have never thought the offense would have got shut down in the NLDS, but that's neither here nor there. I'll take our offense any day of the week. But the bullpen, I still think, has got to be revamped. And when you look at the free agency market, the guy that always comes up when I talk about the bullpen and what I would want, my first name on the list of who I want is, of course, Josh Hader. The Braves are targeting lefties. Josh Hader's the guy that, if you want a lefty reliever, he's your guy. Do I think that's going to happen? I doubt it. I don't think the Braves are going to want to pay him. But look, they went and got Angel Perdomo today. He's a lefty. They know that they're lacking lefties in the pen. They're lacking lefties in general. So I think ultimately, when it comes to what the Braves do in the offseason, it comes down to two things. They got to add pitching and they got to get a left fielder. all due respect to Eddie Rosario, platooning in left field, I don't think is where the Braves need to be. Now, granted, the rest of the lineup surely pulled the load this year, but to be a complete lineup, I don't think you need to platoon there. And I don't think you want to waste 2 spots with outfielders either. I think when I look at the free agency market in left field especially, I think there's a lot of options the Braves could do. Now, I already see one in the comments talking about Vaughn Grissom to left field. We have talked about that on this channel since Vaughn Grissom hit the league. I mean, we have talked about that extensively on this channel. I believe I was kind of the first one to bring it up when he was a rookie because he only came up to replace the injured Ozzie Albies at 22 years old from Double-A baseball, I believe. I mean, he barely had any time in professional baseball and he came up to the league. He's a phenomenal athlete, but the struggle is defense. So I suggested, hey, look, when Albies comes back, Grissom's a good enough athlete with a good enough bat. Why not put him in left field where we didn't necessarily have anybody at the time? Now we're here. We're talking about it again. I think if that was an actual option, I think we would have seen Grissom play more left field in the minor leagues this year. I just would have expected that, and we never did. Granted, back in October, which was only a few days ago, but around mid-October, Double-A did do an interview. He stated that, look, we think Vaughn Grissom could play anywhere on the diamond. He's that level of an athlete. And I believe that too. I still believe that. But they're not going to put him out there if he doesn't have any reps in the minors. It just doesn't make sense. So if that is to happen, he's got to get reps. He's got to practice. He's got to do something to show me that that's going to happen. And I'm not saying that he can't do it. I just don't think the Braves have that mindset with Grissom. And, you know, Double-A even went on to say in that same interview, we view Vaughn Grissom as an infielder. Make no mistake. We view him as an infielder. He will be an infielder. The other option with Vaughn Grissom, potentially, is that he could be a trade piece. You know, I mean, why wouldn't a team want Vaughn Grissom? Sure, he lacks defense, but his bat can go anywhere. And if he's an athlete that can play anywhere on the field, you know, I mean, it's just an option. And on the Braves right now, where do you see Vaughn Grissom fitting? There's nowhere in the infield other than shortstop for him because Albies isn't going anywhere. You could potentially say taking Orlando Arcia's spot, which is what everybody thought was going to happen at the beginning of this season. But Arcia has since won an All-Star and signed a 3-year deal. And, you know, I just don't know where Vaughn Grissom fits if it's not in the outfield or as a utility player. And I don't view Vaughn Grissom as a utility player. I think that there is potential that he gets traded. So where does that leave us in the left field situation? That means you could either trade him for a left fielder or you could trade him for pitching or some other need, whatever the case may be, likely pitching if they're going to do it, and you could target free agents. So who's free agents? Who's some guys that are out there? I already know those questions are coming up. I got a whole list of them over here for you, and I'm not going to read all of them. I highlighted a few. These are the ones that piqued my interest, just to let you know who's out there. Jock Peterson is out there. I know all of you are going to be interested in him. Tommy Pham is out there. Michael Brantley is out there. Cody Bellinger. I know he's a center fielder, but he's out there. Adam Duvall is out there. Teoscar Hernandez is out there. Jason Hayward is out there. I'm not prepared to tell you who I want the Braves to get. I'm not prepared to tell you, what I think they will do. I haven't been able to do enough research. It's not the right time of the year for me to really bring that out and show you what I think is going to happen. But my point really is there is enough free agents in the left field market to sign someone for a reasonable deal. One guy that I think could potentially sign a reasonable deal with Atlanta is Jock Peterson. And if you don't think so, sure, but I think Jock Peterson very well could be a factor. And I don't, it's not necessarily going to happen, but it does intrigue me. And I know Jorge Soler, I think he's out there as well, but I don't know that that's going to happen. I know we got a super chat from Maverick. He says, here's a couple for outfield, some of what we just mentioned. Teoscar Hernandez, right around $14 million averaging a year. Jorge Soler, $12 million, but the Braves should have kept Rosario signed to a one-year deal for $7 million. Well, the reason they didn't keep Rosario was not necessarily solely due to his play. I think they have someone in mind. You might like his bat off the bench, but if you have someone else in mind that you think you can go get, I think that might be where the Braves are. They may think, hey, we got Vaughn Grissom and we're not paying him hardly anything. Let's put him in left field and see how he does, right? I mean, I hate to say this, but with Orlando Arcia, it was kind of the same thing. Let's see how he does, and all of a sudden he's an all-star. So it's just, I think where we are right now, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. With Rosario, I think the option was going to be $9 million. Because it was 2 years, $18 million. So I think the option was $9 million. Could be wrong there, but I think they wouldn't. I mean, I'm not really sure if they could sign him separate from the deal. I think they would have had to pick up the option. If they were to do that, it would happen later. So they could potentially go to Rosario, I guess, at some point and say, look, well, we weren't going to pay the $9 million, but what would you come back for $4 million? I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's just an option. So we're going to go through the comments section here in a few minutes. I did want to talk about this prior to that. Of course, the finalists for awards have come out for MVP. No surprise, Ronald Acuna Jr. is a finalist, and he should be a finalist. If he doesn't win the MVP, there is something wrong with the system. Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are his opponents in winning that award. I think he wins that fairly easily. I would be surprised if he doesn't win that. The other award that I think that I kind of wanted to talk about was Manager of the Year. Manager of the Year, to me, I don't know how you give it to a guy. If Buck Showalter won it last year, I think Brian Snitker deserves it this year. I'm sorry. This Braves coaching staff is just phenomenal. The guy put up over 100 wins. Yes, he had plenty of talent to back that up, but I certainly thought he deserved the nomination, and he certainly got my support for winning Manager of the Year. Other than that, Gold Gloves were announced, and I saw a lot of backlash for Gold Glove announcements. There was no Braves on there, and I'll be honest with you, after I saw that, I didn't really even entertain it. There was no reason for me to look at it, but I did notice one thing. Michael Harris didn't win the Gold Glove, and I was a little, not to say that Michael Harris is a given for the Gold Glove, but I was a little surprised by that. I thought he did enough to earn that. I think to me, there's not really a better center fielder in the game right now. I certainly think he could take it to the next level, but no one can tell me that his glove is not Gold Glove worthy. I just don't think, I disagree with that. But I'm not going to say that whoever won it didn't deserve it. Beyond that, the next award that I think is going to come up would probably be the Silver Slugger, right? I think the Braves are going to take their fair share home. I would say Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, Acuna. I think the Braves are going to take their fair share of hardware home for sure. But again, for this offseason, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, outfield, is certainly a target, and pitching all the way around. If you can get a starting pitcher for a reasonable rate, maybe you go there, especially considering you don't have Kyle Wright next year. But I would also say the Braves usually prefer to keep it in-house when it comes to starting pitching, within a few exceptions. But I think they're going to target bullpen for sure. I can't imagine they wouldn't do that. Corey Carter, I just noticed this while we're talking about it. He says, Soto is a dream of Ohtani proportions. Yeah, Ohtani's not happening. If he gets anywhere near $60 million or whatever, I don't think he's going to have that. I just don't think the Braves are going to entertain that. Because I just don't think the Braves are going to want to put so much into one player. With Soto, Acuna is out here tweeting that he wants it to happen. I don't know how much stake that has in the situation, but I certainly think that there's more of a chance of getting Soto than Ohtani. If we get Soto, I think it's a great thing. I don't know that would be my first pick based on how Alex Anthopoulos goes about doing things. I just think the Braves have always been more of a under-the-radar, get the right move for the right reason type of deal. They're never one to just go spend money for the sake of spending money. There's a lot of guys in left field that fit the need that aren't named Juan Soto, right? I'm not against it. I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen because it could. But I think you're more so looking for like an Adam Duvall, Jock Peterson, Michael Brantley, Teoscar Hernandez, Jason Hayward, guy like that who still has enough game in him but won't cost you an arm and a leg. That's kind of where I think the Braves are going to go with it. All right, let's go ahead and get into the comment section. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Remember to like the video. It really helps get it out there. And look, we are an independent company. So if you like the video, subscribe. You are supporting an independent guy. I have no attachment to anybody. This is all me. If you're new here, share it. Tell your friends about it, all that good stuff. But yeah, also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We don't end with the season. We try to give you content throughout the off season, a little bit more sporadically, but we do bring you content just like this and kind of let you know what's going on. I'm an opinion guy, right? I don't sit here and give you highlights. I give you my opinion, and that lasts all year long. I'm not going to lie, though. I took a bit of a sabbatical after the Braves lost the NLDS. Been busy, been doing stuff, and that is what it is. But we are back. We're planning to be here hopefully once a week at least and giving you content fairly regularly. So please do, again, like this video, but beyond that, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. Let's go ahead and jump into the comment section. Glad to be here, Corey. Good to see you, Jake, Daniel. Let's see. Matthew, oh, sorry, you're talking to somebody else. Smith the Great says, I like the clean-shaven look. I don't. This was an accident, a trimming incident. We'll call it whatever you want to call it. Not my favorite look, but we're here. Let's see. Matthew says, hey, Tyler, which starting pitchers do you think the Braves will be on in the offseason? Strider, Fried, Morton, Elder, plus whoever doesn't seem like enough for a team truly trying to contend, right? Yeah, I mean, I thought Elder took it up to the next level, this past year, at least for the first half, and then after that it kind of fell off. I think he could potentially be better. And, if you get the fifth guy, you know what? Let me just go look what's out there. Hang on just a second. But look, I mean, I think Strider and Morton are enough to carry. I mean, look, they were enough to carry it this year, but once you get to the postseason, that's when, the questions kind of come, right? Let me see what's out there, and I'll tell you what I think. I know Sonny Gray is one that a lot of people have talked about. I don't know if that's, going to happen, but it is an option. All right, I'll read them off to you. Ohtani, no. Aaron Nola, maybe. Not against that. Blake Snell, maybe. Sonny Gray, maybe. Jordan Montgomery had a good second half to his season. Clayton Kershaw is a free agent. I don't see him being anything but Dodger blue. I'm not going to read all these. I'm just going to kind of pick a few. Those are kind of the top picks. Dallas Keuchel is available. Madison Bumgarner is available. No. Yeah, I mean, Jack Flaherty, but these are kind of guys that have fallen off. Carlos Carrasco, but yeah, I don't know. Mike Clevenger, Michael Lorenzen, Lucas Giolito, Michael Wacha. I mean, there's names out there for sure. Good names, but I don't know where they stand in terms of what they did last year, and that means a lot to me. Yeah, I mean, I trust AA. I can't pick a name out of a hat and tell you that it's going to happen. It just doesn't work that way. I definitely think we're going to target somebody, and there's also guys in the organization too. Like, and I know people don't like to hear that, but when it comes to carrying through a regular season, guys like AJ Smith-Shawver, are candidates to be called up at any moment and contribute to the team. So I think ultimately it's going to come down to whatever the Braves see fit. They have obviously saved some money. They can spend some if they want to. They can also decide, you know what, we're going to hold off. We're going to go with what we got, which is a decision that they make on a regular basis. So I wish I could give you a better answer. It's a little early. We'll see how things go. We'll what I usually do is monitor Double A, see what he's saying, if anything. But based on the team, all I can tell you is that they really need starting pitching, and they really need bullpen help. I think they need more bullpen help than they do starting pitching. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Josh Gillum says, no more platoon in left field. I think we locked somebody up long term. That is I think that too. I agree with you. I don't think we platoon there. Pilar all but retired based on his post, or all but is leaving Atlanta, so he made that kind of public a while back. I don't think we platoon there. I think they're going to go for something more along the lines of, maybe a Cody Bellinger who had a good year. I know the Cubs are trying to keep him, but Bellinger had a good year. He's a free agent. He's going to want to get paid. That's a possibility. Adam Duvall is a guy who's been around. If we can get Peterson for a couple of years, they might stopgap it with him. I think he'd be a good guy to do that with. Michael Brantley, he's 37 years old. He might be worth a one-year deal. I don't think they go for like a Joey Gallo. That's the point I'm making. I don't think they do something like that. That's just making a move for the sake of making a move. I just don't see that. There is Kevin Kiermaier, Michael Taylor, Hunter Renfroe, Randall Grishik, Cole Calhoun, Kevin Pillar. There is a lot of free agents out there. I think that they could make a move without, again, breaking the bank. But, it'll be interesting to see what they have to say. Maverick Gaming says, sign Jordan Montgomery, $10 million per year to a 2-year deal. Jock Peterson is $20 million per year. Trade Ozuna, while high, save the money. Go get Jock and Duvall. Look, if you wanted to trade Ozuna, now would be the time because of the year he had, and I get all that. I still don't think the Braves are going to do that. They've talked so much about the teammate he is, and you're finally reaping the rewards from his contract. You're finally, getting the best of Ozuna, which is what they hope for. I don't think they do that. I think what it's going to come down to is, what's out there. I don't see them making a trade. I really think, the Braves like what they have. You don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And the Braves just had one of the best offensive years of any team in history. And I don't think that's an overstatement. I don't, what I think is going to happen is essentially they're going to pick from the free agent list. They're going to pick what they need because they don't want to lock anybody up for 10 years, right? They don't want to make it, and they don't want to trade away anything because, frankly, the Braves don't have a lot to trade with right now. So for me, I think they're more likely to go get a Jock Peterson for a couple of years, or maybe a Cody Bellinger for 3 or 4 years. But it would be interesting to see what they do. I'm interested to see what they do. When it happens, we'll, of course, have you covered here. When it comes to signing Jordan Montgomery, like Matthew says, $20 million a year is kind of a high ask. I know that might be what a website says, but, the year he had last year coming, I don't know that that's going to happen. We'll keep an eye on it, but he's probably going to want to get paid. In terms of trading Ozuna, I don't think that'll happen. I still think they can go get Jock and Duvall with the money they just saved by not re-signing. Eddie alone's $9 million. That covers Duvall, and you got some spare change. So I think they have enough to still go get them. Not to mention, the Braves got money in the bank. Whether or not they want to admit it, they're making all this money on ticket sales every year and the battery and everything else, and they got guys signed like Acuna for $10 million a year. They can afford to go get players. Make no mistake. And that's the genius of those deals, right? Everybody always talks about, man, y'all are only giving Ozzie Albies $5 million a year. That's crazy. Yes, but it gives the Braves the opportunity to say, hey, look, Kyle Wright's out for next year. Who's a starting pitcher that we want, that we need to pay and cover this season, right? They can do that. And it's a luxury. It's certainly a luxury, but there's a reason these players signed to those deals, and I believe it's for a chance to win. The Braves certainly have a chance to win. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and skip down to Matthew. Tyler, if you were a betting man 3 years ago, how much would you have bet that the Braves closer Will Smith was about to become the first player in MLB history to win 3 World Series in a row with 3 different teams? You know, I wish I had it where I could pull it up. This is what I'm going to say about Will Smith. I've interviewed Will Smith. Super nice guy. Funny. I mean, it couldn't happen to a better guy. You know, I've said year after year, like when he went to the Astros, I was like, well, you know, he just doubled his chances to get a World Series ring because the Braves traded him. You know, and he would have got a ring either way. If the Braves had won or the Astros won, of course the Astros did. And then this year, as much as I disagree with the format, all benefits go to Will Smith. I've seen a lot of, people saying, let's go get Will Smith just for the sake of that. That's not how that works to me. I don't think the Braves are going to make a move based off of that. As entertaining as that might be. If I was a betting man, I would have bet $20 on it. I mean, Will Smith is solid, I don't think he's been quite as featured as he was in 2021 these past 2 years, but no, he's certainly still got it. And, whether the numbers say it or not, the dude clutches up when he needs to. A lot of you guys saying Duvall would be good. Corey Carter says, we already have Jorge Soler. His name is Ozuna from the Braves. Yeah, that's kind of my thing with getting Soler. I mean, I don't know that he fits because we already have that type of player. I don't know that and I know that might sound weird. Tyler, why would you not want two very good hitters, Because I want someone who can play defense as well. All due respect to Ozuna and Soler, they're not the best defenders. I think we can get somebody a little bit, that fits the role a little bit better. Both good players. I don't think Soler fits that mold. Jake Hobby says, I think Bellinger wants 12 years. Well, in that case, he's not coming to Atlanta. Matthew Brittingham, Tyler, what did you think about Strider not even being nominated for the Cy Young? Even Logan Webb was nominated. Ahead of the guy who led all of baseball in both wins and strikeouts. Come on, what? Yeah, I didn't love that. I'm glad you brought it up. I thought Strider deserved a nomination. I mean, he was in the conversation for majority of the year, but, I care more, and I think Strider would agree. I care more about what he does in the postseason. We see how that turned out. Not that has any effect over that. I certainly think he had a good enough year to deserve mention in that, and, it is what it is. The awards, I don't take a lot of stock in because I think they're kind of a joke at this point. And one look at the Gold Glove list will tell you that. Go look at the comments. Go look at the comments on the Gold Glove Twitter post by MLB. I mean, it's not just Braves fans. It's not just me saying it. It's a lot of people are kind of got a bad taste in their mouth when reading that. No offense to any of them who won, but I just didn't think it was on point. Jacob wrestled 777. Who's left in the free agency market for left field? No real upgrade over Rosario, not Soler, not Jock, etc. Yeah, I kind of just went through it. I mean, I told you who's out there. I mean, like I said, I think Jock Peterson would be a good fit. I think he's kind of what's missing out of this Braves team, to be honest with you, in the clubhouse. But, that's just me. Let's see. By the way, guys, we're only going to be on here for a few more minutes. Not going to be on here too long tonight. I haven't had dinner yet, and I'm ready to go get it. I'm getting a little hangry. Matthew Brittingham says, Tyler, is bullpen really that big of a need anymore? We already re-signed Pierce Johnson and Joe Jimenez. Iglesias, Minter, and even Matzik are all expected to be back too. I believe it is. And it did not show in the postseason. But had we gone deeper in the postseason, had our offense showed up, I really believe the bullpen would have been our Achilles heel at one point or another. And it might not have lost us a game. All right, our offense was good enough to win games. But I don't think it was built to last. I mean, guys, how comfortable are you? No disrespect to any of them. How comfortable are you with A.J. Minter pitching in the 8th inning up by 1 or tied against Bryce Harper? That's my point. I don't think it was good enough personally. You know, the Braves may view it differently than me. I may be wrong. That's just how I view it. I think the bullpen's got to be targeted. I think starting pitching could be targeted. I think left field will certainly be targeted. But that's where I'm at. Guys, do me a favor. Please make sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you can. Really would appreciate that. And, of course, as always, share this with your friends and all that good stuff. I'm going to skip down a little bit because I see Seth Bachman. He let in thoughts on Trevor Bauer. I assume you mean thoughts on Trevor Bauer coming to the Braves potentially. Here's what I'll say, and I have to be careful with what I say. When it comes to Trevor Bauer, based on recent, Based on recent developments, we've learned that Trevor Bauer potentially is at no fault. He is still banned from Major League Baseball as of right now. He is still not even possibly could be signed at the moment. That could change based on what we know or based on what we think we know. Do I think the Braves go get him? No, I don't. I think the Braves have made it clear, and I'll tell you why I think they've made it clear. About a year ago, I guess, I was in a panel with Dale Murphy, Glenn Hubbard, Bruce Benedict, Brian Snicker, David O'Brien. I think that was it. I think that was everybody. And I was recording it for the event, and a question was asked. Would you ever consider signing Trevor Bauer? This is by Brian Snicker. And he flat out said no. No. And I don't think that changes. I don't even think it's because of whatever accusation that he's proven isn't true. I think it's because they don't want to deal with what the Dodgers had to deal with in their minds. I like Trevor Bauer. I like the vlogs. I like all that. Like, this is not me saying this. I don't think the Braves are going to want to have to put up with what could be a clubhouse distraction. Notice I didn't say cancer. I don't think he's that. But he could be a clubhouse distraction. They have no need for that. Now, if he wants to sign to a 1-year, $5 million deal, maybe. But I mean, never say never. I just don't think it's likely. I think there's too many names out there that they could go deal with. And Trevor Bauer is likely going to get paid, I would imagine. I don't know what's going to happen. We will see. Let's see. Chris Kaysen, feel like Double-A has shown us his plan, starting pitching over left field. I would think Double-A plans on getting a left fielder player we're not thinking of. Yeah, I agree, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be in a trade. I think it's going to be off that list I just read. I think it's go look at the free agency list for left field. It's going to be somebody from that list, I would imagine. I don't think it's going to be anybody that we trade for. We don't have a lot to trade for, period, right now. So we don't have a lot to give. We don't have a ton of prospects to trade. We don't have a ton of really anything. So that's just my take. Xavier says, people aren't going to like this, but we have to go get Tim Anderson to upgrade our shortstop position, but low on a guy looking to be covered by a stacked lineup. Buy low on a guy. Aside from him getting knocked out by Jose Ramirez, I don't think so. I think, all due respect, Tim Anderson, I don't think he fits the Braves mold. I don't think his offense is quite enough to even overtake Orlando Arcia at the moment. I think he got, maybe 2 homers this year? Good player. I just don't see it. I also, like I kind of just mentioned about Bauer, I don't think they're going to want a clubhouse distraction. This is a guy who, just being honest, he called Josh Donaldson racist. He's fought Jose Ramirez. He's fought other people. I don't think the Braves want to get involved with that. They make a point to say every time, anytime Double A makes a signing, this guy just fits our team, in the clubhouse. I don't see that with Tim Anderson. I just don't. And I could be wrong. I just don't see that. But I, again, could be wrong. Oh, Lord, let's see. Excuse me. Miguel Freaka, hey, Tyler, how come Alex made the same mistakes for buying Morton contract? $20 million is a lot. In my opinion, Eddie is more valuable for the Braves than Morton. I would disagree. And Morton gets overlooked a lot. Charlie Morton is a guy who, let's just pull up his baseball reference. Eddie was, a 230 hitter this year, I think? Could be wrong on that, but I'll pull it up too. Not ESPN. Give me baseball reference. Thank you. All right. So Charlie Morton had a 3.64 ERA. Not great, but not bad. Was consistent. He had 14 wins, 12 losses. You know what you get with Charlie Morton. That's the thing. I mean, you know what you get with him. And I thought he pitched well for the majority of the year. I hate he couldn't pitch in the postseason. I think if he had a postseason moment, it could have gone a different way. Still think that. Same way I thought in 2020, if we had Michael Soroka, we would have beat the Dodgers. I think that was certainly a factor. I think I think Charlie Morton's a great pickup. In terms of Eddie, I just saw it coming. He kind of served his time. He was a 255 average hitter, 21 homers. I mean, good year. I just could understand why they didn't pick him back up because of who's in the free agency market. Excuse me. But I can understand you disagreeing with that, too. Matthew, Tyler, Trevor Bauer is not banned from MLB anymore. I know, I spoke wrong. He is free to sign with any team that wants to sign him. I agree, though. Snitker made it clear he doesn't want him. Chemistry matters to the Braves. Yeah, I misspoke. He's not banned by baseball. I guess what I meant to say is no one is signing him. And I think it's kind of understood, to be honest with you, as much as I hate it, I think it's kind of understood that Trevor Bauer is, the black sheep of baseball. I mean, it just is what it is. And teams don't want to get tied up with that. If it's going to be any team, it would likely be somebody like the Oakland A's or the soon-to-be Las Vegas A's, or somebody who's not really competing. Maybe the Marlins, somebody like that. I mean, they're competing, but Bauer would kind of put them, even more on the map. I don't think it's going to be a team like the Braves or the Dodgers or the Astros. I don't think it's going to be like that. I mean, if he ever gets to that team, it would be at a trade deadline after he had a phenomenal first half. That's how that would go. But, I mean, as of right now, he's still in the Japan League. I mean, that's all we know. Would I like to see him back in the game? Sure, because I never want to see anybody leave the game like he did. But I understand why the Braves wouldn't want to get tangled up in that. But that's my thoughts on it. But again, going to recap it real quick. We're going to wrap it up here in a second. If you got another comment, get it in. Also, make sure to like the video if you have not already. Just to recap real quick, again, the Braves did exercise Charlie Morton's $20 million extension. I like the move. I think Chuck deserves one more year if he's willing to pitch it. I like the move again. Like I said, I really like the move. He was one consistent guy we had all year. And considering you don't have Kyle Wright next season, and with all of the uncertainty around the starting pitching after this year, I don't think signing Charlie Morton is a bad decision at all. The Braves also declined option for Kirby Yates, Collin Mchugh, Brad Hand, and Eddie Rosario. No real surprises. I was surprised with Yates more than anybody, but again, not too surprised. Rosario was the one that got all the fan attention, rightfully so. He's former NLCS MVP, the year they won the World Series. I mean, he's a folk hero in Atlanta, but I can understand why the Braves didn't do that. Again, based on the free agency market, wasn't real surprised with that. That leaves a situation where you got to revamp your bullpen. To some degree, you got to go find some guys. You got to find a left fielder. You could use Vaughn Grissom in that role, at least temporarily. Maybe they use Vaughn Grissom in that role until the trade deadline, and then maybe they go get what they want, possibly. or they target a free agent, like we've spoken about pretty extensively in this video. But I think that the situation for the offseason is obvious. They got to get a left fielder. They got to get bullpen and maybe a starting pitcher. That's what you need to look for the Braves to do in the 2023-2024 offseason. In terms of the awards that are out there right now, Acuna deserves the MVP. Snicker, by my account, deserves Manager of the Year. Riley, Olsen, Acuna, Ozuna, give them Silver Sluggers, and I'll be happy. That's where I'm going to leave it tonight. I got one more question. We'll do Spartan King. What do you think Elder's role will be? I think it'll be number 4 pitcher unless they sign somebody. I mean, he was the guy they went to. A lot of folks didn't think he was going to start in the NLDS. I did. I think I was right? I mean, he did start Game 3 on the mound next year. There's no reason not to be. So with that note, we're going to head out. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. On your way out, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Josh Gilliam-Fried is not a free agent until 2025, so no worries. We got one more year to sign him, hopefully long term. And the Braves need to get their act together and go ahead and make that happen. That would make my day. Anyway, guys, going to wrap it up with that. Thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.